And you say that you've been very well researched, right? You've spent a lot of time on this. But from my meetings with, for example, Wes, I've gotten some different information. So I'd like to know what exactly is your financial plan for sustaining a change to a fully independent body in 1 year?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I've been thinking about a lot, and I have a few draft type budget things proposed. Obviously, they see drastic changes already to the funding. So the regular funding that we have now, which is student initiatives, which is about $150,000 per year, would actually be cut quite a substantial amount to about $50,000 or $60,000, and the rest would be going to student services, which would be permanent plannings that have sort of been established by the SRC. So this would go towards the academic council, towards the ministerial mandates, things like that. It would also go to the services that we've begun to establish, like the Commodity Cave, like the MARC, like the radio, and act as permanent funding through there. The rest of it would be used to cover more expensive administrative costs that we're most likely going to incur by being an independent body, which you would incur regardless of doing it in a year or doing it in 3 years. It's still going to be the same cost. One of the things that you mentioned was insurance. I actually talked to Wes extensively about this in September when I was trying to better understand how we pay for insurance. And this was done essentially through the idea that you can actually create a memorandum of understanding with Quest, where you could actually still, as an organization, be covered under Quest insurance or have the student body covered under Quest insurance through this memorandum of understanding. It's a legal document that essentially says you share resources.
We're going to have to take round there, James. Thank you.
We just have to cut answers off at 90 seconds.
Can I wrap up?
Yes.
Is this a back? Okay. So the insurance I was talking about was not sort of the general Quest student insurance, which I assume would come from like student association. I think that might have been your train of thought. I don't know. But what I was actually talking about was the insurance for the liability that an independent student association would have for the proposals that they decide to fund. So say the shuttle that runs to Whistler, for which the student association, the student union would then be liable. And according to Wes, I have this on paper if you want to see it, that would need a separate insurance.
Yeah, from my understanding of organizations, most groups do this. Having talked to Wes, he's not fairly familiar with nonprofit organizations that are separate bodies coming together. It may be something that Quest isn't interested in doing, in which case we need to reevaluate how we approach that. However, shuttles, I don't want to make it, never mind. A lot of the things that students already do and a lot of things that are covered by insurance are already under Quest because they involve a lot of Quest facilities and Quest use and equipment. And so because of that, it inherently has to fall under their insurance. That's just how the insurance company would operate. And then through that, you can essentially negotiate with the school, and I do admit that that is going to be a huge component, is negotiating with the school to create an agreement that you're happy with, whether that means paying them $5,000 a year to be kept on their insurance, or whether it means trying to find a solution for insurance that works for both parties. The $5,000 to them would be a win-win situation because we get insurance and they get another $5,000 or something. Arbitrary.
Thank you again, James. Not to put you on the spot too much. But I think it's interesting in the answer that you're giving to Don. You mentioned how you have a plan of diminishing the amount of money that's currently available for student events and student programming, which is currently what the SRC spends most of their money with, and how that money would come down to 50 grand or 60 grand, I believe that's what you said, just as a general number, yeah, and that some of that money go towards making the SRC an independent organization of the money that's being reduced, and the other money would go towards student services. I wonder what are the implications of making the SRC responsible for more, or institutionalizing the SRC's rights over a large percentage of money that is input into our student association, given the very little amount of student engagement that there already is with the SRC. How to make sure that students approve the SRC giving ourselves more power over how to manage that money for student services that we think they need.
We already do that. I would argue. I'd say there's really no bars on what we spend our money on besides a full council vote. If we wanted to fund a yacht, we could theoretically fund a yacht. If we wanted to fund a 24-hour arts and culture festival, we could do that. So I'd say this just divides where the money is going more clearly, and it makes it so there's more support, not necessarily for these one-off events that happen all the time, that are these student investments, which we are often funding now, but more support financially for long-term student initiatives and investments and services and action.
So maybe I didn't understand your proposal quite clearly. Thank you for the explanation. You wouldn't change the amount of money that is available for the student body to ask for. You just call different things by different labels. So some proposal would fall under student services, some under events, or not?
No, so student investments would be the similar process now, but through the Monetary Council. And then you would have, say, completely arbitrary number, 50,000 that goes towards student services, which are pre-allocated through a budget that is voted on in a normal board of directors meeting, which is essentially just the current ministerial government, which acts as a board of directors for the executive team. These are just the professional industry names and corporate names for these that I have often used.